Hi everybody, Fintan here from Damson again. This week I wanted to continue my kind of remote working series that I've been doing, which kind of happened quite by chance. We work remotely, all of our team. We do sometimes go into places like WeWork and these sort of shared office spaces, and our team make sure that we kind of get together. But I just wanted to talk about, in general, some of the things that we do as a team to kind of ensure that although we're working remotely, we still engage in the same way that you might a team in an office. Obviously, we use tools like Google and G Suite to help us jump on video calls and connect, but also those tools help us, and there are other tools like this that I think are necessary when you're working remotely to kind of build a cohesive team and a cohesive community. I think there are some challenges with remote working when you maybe have one or two team members working remotely and they video call into an office. I know we used to have an office in Dublin, and our colleague Raheem and some other people were based outside of Ireland. And what we would do is, in the morning, we would start a video call with a screen share up on a screen that we had mounted on the wall. And Raheem and some other people working remotely would join that call. And so that meant that they were sort of an extension of the office. We made sure that they were sort of there, and the video call was perpetual. It was there all the time. Raheem could drop in and out of it if he wanted. But it meant that he could engage with the office as easily as kind of opening a door. And I think often remote people can kind of be forgotten, particularly if there's just sort of one or two of them. I think when you have a fully remote team, it's a little bit different because everybody is in the same boat. So when you've got one or two people working remotely, you've got to really make the effort to make sure that those people aren't sort of left out. When you've got a full remote team, it's kind of different. So you've got to try to create those shared spaces for people, and that can happen in a couple of different ways. So it can be things like making sure that there is a stand-up. So we would have a weekly stand-up often at the start of the week, and everybody would join that video call and you talk about what you're doing, what things you're working on that week, particularly if you've got projects on. So things like that can be valuable to sort of create a space, but also to make sure that maybe you have a video call, and I've heard of people doing stuff like having a video call and having lunch together or having a coffee. And so those sort of things that might happen serendipitously in an office, you're forcing a little bit, but you're trying to create that space for community and communication. The other thing that a lot of remote teams do is they make sure that they meet up in person from time to time, because then that helps to keep the team connected. So at least once a month, if not more, we would try to meet up in town. When I'm traveling, I try to meet other people that we work with in different countries and locations. And a lot of companies once a year will have sort of a big team meetup to make sure that, particularly in large companies, that everybody from different regions is connecting together. So I think that that's really important when it comes to remote teams. And as I said, building that company culture and building that sort of community as well. And then the other thing is apps or tools like Google Hangouts, chat, and products like Slack that allow you to have that informal communication, or some companies even use WhatsApp groups. That's sort of not emailing, but sort of informal chat. And for a lot of the other partners in the Google ecosystem that we partner with, we use the Google Chat tool to have little group chats, and it's great for people just to share stuff, things they've seen. They can take screenshots or photos and drop them into the chat, and it's a great informal way of communicating, and people don't feel like they have to be as formal in it, and they don't have to think about it as much. They have it on their mobile devices, so they can just kind of jump on and quickly engage with whatever conversations or content are kind of going on. And so we would find that for us, when we worked remotely and when the company started, and we had remote people almost straight away, it was a fantastic way for engaging people on an ongoing basis. Now, it can get very busy as well, and if people are out of the office or they're on project sites, with customers. When they come back to it, it can be difficult to catch up. Anyone that's seen a WhatsApp group with more than 10 or 15 people will know what that's like. So it is important, I think, to learn how to mute them and to turn off notifications if you're in maybe a meeting, and then to come back to it, because sometimes people can be chatting about things and it could be popping up on your screen if you're screen sharing. So just to have a think about those kind of things as well. I think making sure that people have the right tools and equipment. So, if you've got remote employees, make sure you're giving them the devices, the laptops, and the hardware as well, not just the software, to actually work effectively remotely. Make sure that they've got good broadband and that you're supporting them in that way. I'm actually considering now, or we are for our teams, and it was something that I came across where my broadband would sometimes go down. We're going to be getting mobile broadband from Vodafone for all of our teams, so that people can continue to work when they have issues with maybe their direct line sort of broadband. So making sure the kind of infrastructure and the devices are there as well, I think is a really important one. Now, this isn't an exhaustive list, but the one that I'm going to finish on today is having some sort of project management or joint task management tool. I think that's kind of vital when you've got a remote team. And I think having those sort of informal ways of communicating, like I was talking about Hangouts or Slack, but not even just that, within systems, so that like someone can go, a manager or someone else can kind of go and look and see, these are all the things that John or Mary or Bob are working on today, and I can see the progress that they're making. So if I go into a folder, I can see the proposal that John has created for customer client A. Or I have a task management tool, and so I can see the task that he or she has completed that day. So that sort of informal communication where maybe you even get updates on it, if you want, depending on the size of your team. But that there's a way of having overview of the company as a whole without having to say, hey John, what are you working on? Hey Bob, what are you working on? Hey Mary, what are you working on? Because that's wasting everybody's time. If there was some sort of shared task management tool, whether it's something like a Google Keep or Task Manager, or some other tool like Trello, or there's lots and lots of project management tools out there. Monday.com is one we've been testing ourselves internally recently. There's lots of them out there. Whatever works for you for project or task management, but having some sort of group task management tool, I think will make your remote team much more effective. So that's my last one. Again, not an exhaustive list. I may come up with more and do another one of these, but I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think are vital tools or methodologies or things that you ensure that you have or do for your remote teams? I know that there's some really interesting groups in Ireland now, like Grow Remote, that have started to promote remote working more and advertise remote working jobs. There's a lot more remote working jobs now. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear from everybody on what they feel are the kind of areas within remote working that you think you couldn't live without, or your team wouldn't be as effective without. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will chat to you next week.